Today's episode is brought to you by Forvis Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Ten years ago, Dr. Vivek Eranki opened his first cosmetic clinic in Perth, WA, and he's been on expansion mode ever since. Dr. Eranki is the CEO of Cosmetique, with 17 beauty, injectables and laser hair removal clinics across the country. The plan, though, is to ramp things up by opening another 30 in the next 12 months. There's one issue, though, that's giving him and many others in the retail sector a major headache: a lack of resourcing and builders to complete the fit-outs in the new premises. First, Chris Ashmore asks Dr. Eranki how he identifies and selects the locations of his clinics.
The location of the clinics is very important. So we predominantly look at how we can service the demographic that come to us. So if we look at our demographic, the vast majority of them are in their 30s, late 30s or younger. They are predominantly female. And so when we look at where we find these patients, we typically find them in the inner city to the outer metropolitan suburbs. So that's where we focus our efforts into finding the locations. We partner with a lot of agents in each of the cities that we are in, as well as fit out and construction companies in order to find the correct location to be in. We want the location to be as accessible as possible. So as much as possible, we're on the main strip, cafe strip of the main suburb, typically looking for something in the 40 to 60 square meters with good street frontage, as well as easy car parking as well. We want to make it as easy as possible for the patients to see us, park and walk in.
Right. So they're not necessarily in shopping malls, but in shopping strips. Is that right?
That's correct. So we try and avoid the shopping centres. I mean, it could just be my personal hatred of shopping centres, but I just find the whole thing about parking, going in, trying to find a shop, coming out, it just is taxing of time. So I'm not saying we're not in shopping centres, but where we are in the outer rim of the shopping centre, which pretty much opens into the main cafe strip. So, for example, in Bondi Junction, we are in the Bondi Junction, but we are on the outer rim that opens up onto the street, and same in Glenelg, South Australia as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand you're looking to expand even further with the number of clinics you've got, but you're facing a huge challenge these days. What's going on?
So I think a lot of people are facing this challenge when it comes to construction. So when we expand, we haven't yet expanded through acquisition. We have expanded through organic growth. So what that basically means is if we find a site, we then build out the site and we then essentially make it viable. So what that means is that we need to find construction people and construction companies that can deliver the construction within the specified time limit. Traditionally, we've never had any problems with this. So we were able to do fit outs within a couple of months. And the reason being our fit outs are very simple, right? So all our sites are copy paste. So they're all a rectangular site, about 40 to 60 square meters that are easy to replicate. But what we are finding recently since post-COVID is it's harder to find good construction crews, good laborers, in order to complete the task in the same specified time. Even the construction companies that we typically engage, they are having problems finding tradespeople as well. And that can blow out the construction time. So this is something that we need to factor in.
And it's not, of course, just you facing these problems. I'd imagine there's a lot of retailers, a lot of shops that are also facing these issues with lack of construction workers or construction companies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So when I speak to other friends of mine in business and when I speak to even the laborers themselves, I mean, the grievance that they have is they're really busy. I mean, it's a good problem for them. But the consistent thing that I keep hearing is there's so much work out there, it's really busy and we are short-staffed. And I think we are currently hit with a perfect storm because what's happening is there's been a lot of stimuli in the construction sector. Concurrent to that, there's also been a drop-off in the workforce as well, and workforce participation as well as migration as well. So we're not getting as many skilled migrants in to fill the jobs needed to fuel the construction. Now, to make things worse, inflation's kicked in as well. So things that used to cost a lot less are now costing a lot more, which is then also adding to the construction cost as well. So we're sort of stuck in a perfect storm here. I mean, the good news for us is the construction for us isn't large. I mean, if somebody's building a gigantic retail outlet, for example, or a house, it's very complicated. For us, it's about 3 rooms. So it's not complicated at all. And most of what we do is prefabricated. So it's literally connecting it in. So we are lucky. And if we are facing these challenges, I'd hate to imagine what the bigger players are facing.
Absolutely. And this is happening all over the country, not just where you are in Perth.
Yeah, so we've finished our expansion to Perth. So the vast majority of our expansion is happening in Sydney and Melbourne. So our most recent clinic that's constructed in Melbourne is in Clyde North, and the one previous to that was in Frankston. So we face the same issue in New South Wales as well as Victoria. We are looking at redoing some of the fit outs in Queensland, and again, same issue as well. So it looks like it's a national issue, and I'm not entirely sure when this issue will resolve. But I mean, if you look at it from a purely market dynamics point of view, I mean, when you have a crunch in the supply, that leads to increase in the prices. When you have increase in prices, then there will be an increase in supply, right? So I assume that the market will self-correct, but at this point, we're not entirely sure when that's going to happen.
And until that happens, then what are your options?
I mean, we are not in a horrible place because most of what we do is prefabricated. So all we have to do is we have to account for the increased time frame for delivery of our clinics. So when we sign on the dotted line, we need to understand that it may not finish in 2 months. It may finish in 3 months. So, and the budget may blow out maybe by 20 or 30%. Not gigantic. So we are insulated, luckily, for that reason, but it is something that, we have to be cognizant about. But in terms of as an economy as a whole, if you're a business nowadays, you have to think about the fact that the dollars that you're competing for are the same dollars that customers are looking at going, well, I might have to put that towards a house down payment. I might have to make interest repayments and the interest rates are going up. So there's a lot more competition for discretionary spend nowadays.
Same local team, new global reach. Forvis Mazars, formerly Mazars, is an international audit, tax and advisory firm committed to helping you confidently grow your business. Find out how Forvis Mazars can support you at forvismazars.com/au. That's FORVISMAZARS.com/au.
Are you buying or are you leasing? Is that a consideration?
Yeah, so as much as possible, we like to buy. And the reason for that is when you acquire property, it reflects really well on the balance sheet. You can forward plan a lot easier because you know what the expenses are going to be. They're going to be more predictable. You can also collateralize that asset as well in order to expand the business because banks are happier to give you finance if you hedge it against property. The way we've acquired property traditionally is we've opened sites and we engage with our landlords a lot. And if the landlord wants to sell the property, then we are always happy to buy the property. So if I look at all the property we've acquired in that pattern. So that secures us as well because we know that the business inside is viable because it's one of our businesses. And as well as the landlord knows that they have an exit strategy as well should they wish to exit out of the property.
Right. And is commercial property, is that a lot cheaper than it's been for a while? How is it now?
It depends. It depends on the yields. It depends on the landlord as well. So with residential property, the value of the residential property is much easier to gauge, right? Because there's a lot more activity in the market. So you can look at comparables a lot easier. So you can look at the property next to you, down the road from you, and there'd be a lot of properties for sale within the suburb. Commercial property, it's a bit more complicated. So we've always approached the commercial property acquisitions from the point of view of putting in cash offers. And what this basically means is if the landlord wants to make a quick exit, we are there to enable them to do so. So this helps us secure the property at a much more competitive rate. So this is a win-win for both parties.
Absolutely. Well, how are things now with your expansion? You must be quite positive about the future.
I mean, yeah, we absolutely are. So we currently are sitting at 17 clinics. Our goal for the national footprint is around 40 to 50 clinics. We aim to be around half an hour away from any of our customers. That's what we're aiming for. So the vast majority of our upcoming clinics are predominantly in New South Wales and Victoria, which are the large population centers. They're also very favorable for us as well because the population density there is a lot greater than places like Western Australia and Queensland. So yeah, no, we are very bullish about the future. We think the demand in this sector is quite high. We think that more and more people are incentivized to look their best, and that is essentially what we help people do. So yeah.
Easy to find staff?
Very easy to find staff, yeah. I mean, especially for us, given that we invest a lot of time and money into staff, we have no problems finding staff. Anecdotally, I mean, if you look at Seek.com, they put out their data in terms of how many applicants are coming for every job. So, for example, for nurses in the cosmetic sector, for every job opening there's about 20 applicants. We get up to 300. And the reason for that is anytime we employ a staff member, we are one of the only companies in Australia that mandates that they undergo external and internal training. So by the time they come out and see patients, they're certified both externally and internally. So we put a lot of resources into compliance and into education. And what this basically means is the staff get peace of mind that they are well-skilled, well-trained, and these are skills and training that they can take into their career into the future as well.
Fantastic. So nice time to be in business.
Can't complain, but yeah, I mean, we're always cognizant of the economic winds and how they shift, and yeah, it's all about being nimble in business.
That was Dr. Vivek Eranki, CEO of Cosmetique. Business Essentials Daily is a SoundCartel podcast. Producers are Nick Schildberger, Chris Ashmore, Jeff Waters and myself. Technical production by Pete Letts. I'm Nicole Goodman. Thanks for listening. We'll bring you more Be Daily next week. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Forvis Mazars. To find out more, visit forvismazars.com/au. That's FORVISMAZARS.com/au.